Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We provide fan-oriented and analytic discussions on a variety of animated shows, movies, and anime, currently featuring Steven Universe, Miraculous Ladybug, The New Powerpuff Girls, and Archer. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Mel Moyer.
Hello.
Today, Mel and I are discussing the season finale of Archer, Deadly Velvet, Parts 1 and 2. We didn't do a podcast last week, so we'll be discussing both Parts 1 and 2 of Deadly Velvet, which just aired in its shocking conclusion. Spoilers for these two episodes and all of Archer, Season 7, everything. Overlyanimated.com is where you can check us out to find our other Archer podcasts and everything else we do. And you can search for the Overly Animated Podcast on iTunes or your favorite podcatcher. Mel, 4 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago, 3 minutes ago, Archer just died. What is your reaction?
They got me. I will say that much.
You were surprised.
Yeah, because I assumed it was gonna be the cyborg in the pool, and that's what they were going with, and then all of a sudden it wasn't. And he's looking pretty. I mean, I don't know. He's looking pretty dead. He's a floater. His eyes were open.
Are you distraught over Archer?
That's always
dead?
my thing in movies when you're not sure if someone's dead or not. I'm like, were their eyes open?
And
they're laying there with their eyes open. That means they're dead. I wasn't distraught because it's Archer, so he's gonna it'll be, he'll be back. But it was tricky stuff. I wonder if that means they're doing like a 2-season thing with this Veronica Dean stuff, because she's off heading to Mexico.
Yeah, that's true. We don't necessarily resolve our...
Yeah, there was no resolution with her. There was like a reveal in the last 5 minutes of the episode about her, and then there was no resolution after that, so...
Yeah. I think the most shocking thing here is that Archer's not been renewed yet. There's a real chance that this is how we end the series.
That he's just dead.
I think that's probably a good ending. It's not necessarily satisfying, but
no. I could see something like that happening, but I feel like that was just so abrupt.
I guess that I'm pretty glad they did something like this, because nothing felt I didn't feel the stakes the entire finale. That being said, they said someone in the previews all season, someone's going to die in the finale. And they kept saying that. And then no one was dead, and we're after 10:30, we're past the runtime, and still no one was dead. It's the cyborg in the pool. So I don't know. It wasn't the most shocking thing, I guess. At some point it has to be Archer who's actually dead. My first thought is I'm surprised they did this. Obviously, shows don't kill their main characters unless you're Game of Thrones. But even Game of Thrones doesn't kill its main character 7 seasons in, as we just saw with Jon Snow, right? It doesn't do that. You can pull that bait and switch in season 1, but after 7 seasons, it's not happening. But they did. My second thought was, is the show been renewed yet? And no. And now my third thought is that in this Archer universe, there seem to be ample ways to bring Archer back, which I think lowers the stakes. You could just easily put Archer's consciousness onto a cyborg or something like that, right? I feel like there's just so many ways to do that.
Yeah.
So,
I will say my favorite part of the episode is when everyone showed up and J.K. Simmons said to the copies, thanks, assholes, when everyone started freaking out about... I don't know. I found that hysterical.
I think this was a strong episode for J.K. Simmons.
Thanks, assholes.
It was pretty good. I didn't write down a lot of stuff, but it was. I pulled this quote from him: "You're not gonna yummy Jewish cookies your way out of this one."
Yeah,
I think that was J.K. Simmons.
Natasha.
Yeah.
Circling back.
So I thought that, and what do you think, narrative wise, your initial reaction to pulling this giant thing in the finale with Archer?
I thought it was. It was kind of a weird episode the way it was structured, and it became clear at a certain point when that gag with the cyborgs just wouldn't stop in that scene where everyone kept shooting them, that they were that was a Chekhov's gun, then to come back later to show oh, the cyborgs could be shot and look dead, and this is how they, like quick exposition of how they operate and stuff. And there was some things like that where they lingered on things a little too much to push it home. Like, it was obvious that Veronica Dean was going to, like, frame Lana, like, 5 minutes into the episode, but they just kept, like, they made that, like, Archer figuring that out to be the entire arc. Which doesn't work when it's very clear to the audience. Like, yeah, like, there's dramatic irony and, like, humor in it, because it's like, oh, it's obvious to the audience and not to him, and that's fine. But, like, I felt like it went on a little bit too long.
I will say, I think I now remember when Archer gets shot, I was like, okay, I'm seeing blood and, like, not robot guts. That's actually him then. But then the show convinces you, I think, that it's the that it's the robot. But yeah,
well, because it's like the joke with the Turing test, because even the Archer cyborg thought it was Archer. It also got shot.
Yeah, I really love Krieger being happy that they passed the Turing test at the end. Like, that's his reaction to Archer getting shot. Like, that's really good.
I love them bringing, that's such an Archer line too, for him being like, oh, these things that would never pass the Turing test, like, that he just randomly would know what that is and be able to bring it up in conversation.
Yeah. My initial reaction is, I think this is, like, a good narrative move, because if this didn't happen, I'd be coming on here saying how I thought that this finale did not satisfactorily wrap up this season-long arc.
Oh no, that was my favorite part, was the switcheroo with Archer being actually the one dead in the pool.
Yeah,
I think that made the entire finale, like,
it really just makes it all worth it. Because without it, then I'm like, they just, in 2 minutes, Veronica Dean talking about, like, the insurance fraud and, like, how that connects to his like former schoolmates, like, and, like, I was just not into it, because, one, I didn't remember anything that happened this season, because it was pretty unmemorable. Two, it didn't seem to make sense to me watching it.
This also, I think, made the Lana and Archer stuff worth it too, because now there was, like, stakes to the fact that they had their strange relationship issues that weren't resolved when he got shot.
Yeah, I will say, I mean, I do think it makes it better. I think the moment with him, like, getting down to propose or whatever, the robot,
cyborg,
it works really well if given what happened. But the cyborg, yeah, I don't think it made the Lana Archer worth it during the season.
It makes me feel bad for her enough.
I guess, yeah.
Like, I obviously feel bad for Mallory, but
we're also discussing Deadly Velvet Part 1 here, and the Archer Lana stuff in that episode, I feel like, was almost unbearable for me. Like, it was
a lot more of the episode than I expected it to be.
It's so clearly just such a bad plot, and we've been talking about it this entire season, how we, like, don't care. I'm really not into it. I do think it works better given what happened at the end, but I still think that's, like, the season's main weak point is the Archer Lana stuff. And then maybe the secondary weak point would be how the season doesn't really tie together at all, and which isn't a problem, but they try to do that.
Well, it's interesting because it doesn't tie to like the plot itself, and where, like, the different sort of, like, spurts of arcs don't really tie together, but the entire theme of, like, film noir.
Okay, so, like, from, like, a thematic level.
Yeah, because it's, like, a noir thing.
Okay, I could definitely see that. And also the Archer thing at the end works really well.
Yeah, like, it's total, like, going for, like, theme over, like, content being the link between episodes.
Okay, I can buy that. I'm generally pretty open to prioritizing theme. I mean, I think that there's, like, exception. I mean, I guess if you just look first episode, last two, then it works. There's some non-good links in the middle, but yeah, I don't know. Overall, I was I think without that last scene, I'm pretty unsatisfied with the finale. Given it, I'm pretty okay with it.
Yeah,
like, I think Archer dying is, like, the most memorable thing of the last 3 seasons, right? Like,
yeah.
So I'm glad that we actually had something significant happen. I thought the cops were really good. These 2 episodes. This episode, the thing I really liked narratively actually was how obvious it was that Veronica Dean did it. Even last episode, just her whole thing with she kept repeating the stroke of the stroke.
It's just past 3 or whatever.
That's like, I wasn't really connecting to this character until she starts really hamming up the old actress thing, and I think it actually really works then. And I do like that the show like doesn't try to hide it. And it did a little bit of a thing with like Archer realizing and his arc, but he also kind of knew, and it was more of like what's Archer gonna do in this situation given his character motivations. I think was
Mhm.
kind of an interesting thing too. But it's that at the same time that wasn't clear either. It was kind of just all obfuscated by just this plot with the cops and the gunpowder residue. And yeah, I guess that could be a complaint, is that we don't have clear we don't have like kind of a clear end to Archer's arc and narrative this season.
I do like with the gunpowder residue the fact that Cheryl just took an entire shower.
But did she like not wash her hands in the shower?
Well, no, because she was in the bathroom and she's like, "Wait, we're not washing our hands," and Archer was like, "Oh my god, wash everything!" And
Yeah.
she
Oh
literally
yeah.
did.
Why was she getting cornrows at the
There was literally no. She just was.
I thought she was looking good, but like that was interesting. I feel like we had good Cheryl lines in the first part of this finale, but I can't remember. Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit disappointed thinking back to. I was like, okay, the season's gonna have a lot to do with Archer's morality and him like dealing with the consequences of his killing people and stuff like that. And I wonder if that was really resolved. Maybe that's foreshadowing him dying.
Maybe
That's a little bit of a stretch.
because they did like quickly call back to the bullying and the
Yeah, they did. They did very briefly. I think that could be that. It also could be that he was trying to tie this into the Lana stuff. I think it's maybe, and I think the Lana stuff was unsuccessful, so maybe that didn't happen. I really am not satisfied with the season long term in terms of as a unit. I don't think it was terrible, but I think that like looking back, what works for me long term, I think you raise a good point about the thematics of the LA noir type thing, which I think is maybe one of the only things that ends up being successful. Can you think of anything else that worked for you long term?
No, and because I was thinking while I was watching it, the thing that I liked most about the season as a whole was the noir theme, and that's about it. Like individual episodes, honestly, they all freaking blur together for me because nothing really happened between the pilot and now. Like, or not the pilot, the season premiere
Yeah.
and now, except for them going for this like LA film noir feel, which I thought actually was pretty well executed
Yeah.
by the end.
Yeah.
Especially with Archer being the one in the pool.
Yeah. I mean, you get a murder mystery at the end. I mean, I guess you kind of already had you like a hostage thing in the middle. I guess I don't know if it's a similar feel or not, but yeah, I do think that worked. I guess one other thing, I guess that like I think that if you look first episode, last episode, I think that it's somewhat satisfying. I think the Archer in a pool, showing that in the beginning, showing their conversation about like gay porn name rimshot, right? Like they we see like the full conversation. I think all of that works. I think especially showing Archer in
the rim jokes were aplenty in this episode.
They were plenty, yeah. I mean, I was a big fan of those in the premiere, so good that they got brought back. But yeah, I guess that works. But it's pretty easy to write something in your first scene and then write it in your last scene and connect it. Like I feel like that's not super difficult narrative wise. Much harder is tying something throughout the entire season, which I guess they did. Which I guess Adam Reed was successful in thematically, but yeah, like I really feel like once you get to the obvious stuff, it drops off pretty quick in terms of things to like look back on the season will let by. Humor wise, what did you think of this episode and the one before it?
I'm trying to separate them in my head.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They these leave pretty quickly. I don't know if I remember too much.
Honestly, the big thing sticking out of I just love when everyone shows up and freaks out because they see Archer in the pool and he just turns like deadpan to the cops and is like, "Thanks, assholes."
Yeah,
I just found that so funny.
I guess from this episode, I really love the Krieger cyborgs. I mean, Krieger, one of my favorite characters, of course, and as I assume most people's. But the bring in the two cyborgs and just police Krieger, like
Yeah.
it was really good.
I liked the animation on that in the background. If you watch them, like they'd react, like that Krieger would react like randomly when people were talking, and then they'd react, and
Yeah.
they'd be reacting the same ways, but like different at different times.
Yeah, I was waiting for the one who we thought was the real Krieger to not be the real one, but they didn't do that because
They did that with
that would have
Archer.
given away the ending. Yeah,
Yeah.
so in retrospect, I see why they didn't, but that seemed like an obvious thing. Yeah, I do like how they did the cyborgs in the finale. I like how they introduced them earlier. I wonder why they weren't more of a thing throughout the entire season. I think that's an easy connective tissue, but at the same time, maybe
They kind of were like had like they were hinting at it earlier than when they actually showed them.
I guess so.
A little bit.
Yeah, I guess this is one of those things. I think much like Krieger, there where the less exposure, the more impactful, potentially. But they've done Krieger clones in the past, right? Like I feel like this is not too dissimilar from things that they have previously done. Um, other this I feel like this lawyer character doesn't pay off that well.
Yeah, and it wasn't even like he was really used too much for the plot, even because they ended up abandoning the framing Lana thing, like by the end.
Yeah. I think that I just think he's tied into the season plot stuff that doesn't necessarily work. What do you think of? I mentioned this before that the Veronica Dean character only really worked to me when she got into like the obvious murder thing. What do you think of this character in retrospect throughout this whole season?
Um, yeah, I didn't dislike her before that. I didn't really have any opinion of her. Obviously, she ended up being like the femme fatale character
Yeah,
by the end, which was interesting. And I didn't necessarily see coming. Like, I think it was obvious that she, did it or had something to do with it, but I didn't expect her to be, shooting Archer in a pool.
yeah. I guess that was surprising. Yeah,
So,
yeah. I think that last scene was pretty successful. I don't know what stands out from the rest of this episode. I think it was a little bit. Maybe I thought part one was funnier, although I can't remember specifics.
there weren't even, So, one, I was very happy when they were talking about whatever it was. I guess it was the first one when they were talking about Veronica Dean or something, and Pam makes a comment, and he's like, "Oh, I don't think she's bisexual." So I was like, one, thank you for that, at least.
Throwing that word in at least, yeah.
Throwing that word in at least. Two, when apparently Mallory all this time thought Pam was a dude.
That's such a stupid joke.
She then says it back to her about what's his name, the guy voiced by Elaine's boss from Seinfeld, who gets shot in the head.
Who gets shot in the head?
Yeah, the director.
Oh yeah, Alice
That guy.
Crane, yeah.
When she's talking about him, and Mallory's like, "I don't think he's bisexual."
Yeah.
She's like, "What?"
And then Pam's like that one time with a strap on or
Yeah.
something. Yeah. I was like, is that referencing something that I don't remember from earlier in the show?
Yeah,
Maybe.
I don't. But I was like, I like that whole exchange.
Yeah, that was notable, I guess. I don't know what else. Do you remember anything else from part one?
I like that Pam got pissed that she was craft services.
Yeah.
When they were handing out
roles. That's right. They did do that. That's pretty typical.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like, Pam, what? Craft services. God damn it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't remember anything.
Oh, and they made a joke when she ate a grape, and they were like, "Did she?"
Oh, yeah, it's her cheat day. Yeah.
It's her cheat day.
I thought that was pretty funny. That actually just makes sense for that character, I guess. But she's drinking all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess it doesn't make sense.
Maybe it's her cheat day from drinking. She actually ate food.
Yeah, she just.
Maybe that's the joke.
We're digging too deep. So yeah, I don't know. What do you think of the finale overall? Successful? One of the better parts of the season?
I think it's only successful because the last 5 minutes, I think it was very, like the rest of the season, disjointed and kind of weird.
Yeah.
And some of it I don't even think made sense in terms of like where they were trying to push people, like with the plot. Like that whole thing about the gun residue, like was basically became the entire episode, and it didn't have to be like logically. and everyone was washing their hands anyway. And the gag with the robots, like I get that it was there to show us, for later, but it went on for a while. So at the time, it was like, why am I watching this so much? But yeah, I mean, I think it all paid off with that last scene.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think the finale is underwhelming without the last scene. It still probably is one of the highlights of the season without it, but that's not saying that much. So I don't know. I guess I was happy with the finale. It's the season overall. Let me like list things that stick out to me as like successful from the season. I think the we talked a lot about this already. The bookends with Archer. I think the cyborgs stand out. I think thematically. Potentially Archer, them trying to do something with Archer's character arc was interesting, but it didn't work out in the end, but it was still kind of interesting. And I think Cheryl's character was well utilized this season. I think potentially Krieger was well utilized. I think Pam was not great. I mean, she was fine at its points. They're all on and off. And that might be it. So I don't know. What about you? What other stuff stuck out to you as successful the entire season?
The switcheroo with the cyborgs. Not necessarily in a good way, but those freaking clowns. They were so weird, but they're like one of the only things I can place that I remember viscerally. Yeah, there's nothing really else because there wasn't even any big like Pam. I was actually just saying today to a friend talking about how much I love the episode where they're on the train going to Ottawa.
Yeah.
And like the ocelots there.
I saw a picture of like a baby ocelot in some news story today, and I thought of that episode. Yeah,
like that's an episode that I would say was like a highlight of the show for me. Period. But it's so long ago. Like I haven't had anything like that recently in the show.
Yeah, episodes that stand out to me this season would be this episode. I think that the 2-part clown stuff, and episode 2. Which with that
with the bully,
the extended voicemail. I don't know if no, that was episode 3, the extended voicemail episode, whichever one that was. I think it was 2. Yeah. But there's not a lot that stands out. What about you?
Yeah, no, honestly, it's the clowns, and again, just because it was a 2-parter and those stupid clowns. And that was the introduction, I guess, to J.K. Simmons' character later.
Oh yeah, I wanted to say that about the long-term plot, the season plot elements. I thought the cops were overall successful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Continue.
I mean the end of this, the end of this episode. Yeah, because even the premiere wasn't with breaking into Shapiro's place wasn't even all that interesting either. And it only stood out because I was hoping that they were going to make jokes about, because that like with Cyril's like agency, and he's the only one who actually has his private investigator's license. And I thought they were going to make jokes like about that and about like logging their hours and stuff. But there was a lot less office humor, or there has been recently, because that was like a thing for a while in the show that they would have the like around the office humor and that sort of thing. But that's it's been missing for a while.
Oh yeah, a lot of the early Archer Krieger stuff, or Archer Cyril stuff, I think was really good.
Yeah,
we were talking about that. Yeah, I think Cyril overall not well utilized this season. Something that I remember is that I'm very unsatisfied with what Archer's plan was at the end of this episode, because
I don't even know what his plan was.
He just goes and he gets shot, and then
both of them got shot.
And they get shot. Neither made, even if he was the second one, it would also not, like, neither makes sense.
I think his plan was to get a confession out of her, and then one of them was supposed to like be the witness to the police, but they both got shot.
Considering how many like dangerous situations we've seen on the show, like this is the one that kills Archer, him putting his gun down and like.
No, and I also thought it was weird that it was like, okay, no matter which one it is, when he comes out and he's like, after the first one gets shot and he comes out, and I'm like, she still has the gun. Like she could just shoot him in the face right now. Like that's, and she did. Well, not the face, but she did.
And not like, even if we're missing something, just the fact that it's not clear at all is, I think, a big negative.
Yeah.
It's like, I just forgot about it until now because of the big event at the end. So it's not like a super prominent thing because you get distracted. by Archer dying. But it just that whole ending sequence is potentially nonsensical, even if it was well executed, otherwise.
Yeah.
So I don't really understand that. I feel like if you look at this long term, Archer, especially if the series ends with him dying, like you look at this long term and just this is what did Archer in, like that's pretty bad. I feel like I guess you could say it makes sense because it's like the like him being seduced or whatever by this, like that's his weakness. I don't know. I'm not satisfied by this.
Well, even that, like, it was played for like a joke. Like he like had this huge crush on this
Yeah, it was never taken very
50-year-old
seriously. Yeah,
actress. Like it wasn't like it was some huge. It wasn't like Katya, that Russian
gotcha. Yeah, no,
Katya.
she did not come back in the finale.
Like that is something I'd be more willing to accept if that's you were going to go with like his Achilles heel being like be a womanizer and being seduced by women, but this was like a weird like jokey like schoolboy crush on
Mm-hmm.
an older woman. So, and it was played that way. So
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what this. It's unsatisfying that's kind of how it ended. Okay, um, two things to wrap up. Number one, what's your initial reaction? It's hard to separate seasons for this show, but this season better or worse than season 6, better or worse than any other season of the show. Do you have any read on that?
um not really. I think it was slightly more memorable than last season
Yeah.
because of the theming with it. And like the overall, like I think it was like a better version like of what Archer Vice was trying, because like I liked Archer Vice, but I felt like because that was like the first time they tried to do the sort of like style arcs, and I liked it. Like I thought it was cool, but I think this was a better execution of that idea because it was a bit more muted, but you still it felt like watching like a noir film, like something that was based on like 1940s films from that time and sort of like the femme fatale and that sort of thing. Um, that being said, like the first 3 seasons of Archer are still like the best
Yeah,
by far.
I'm like even open to this being the best season since season 4. Like you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, Vice season 6, I remember very little. But that being said, like, is this even a above average season of television? I don't know.
Oh
Like,
no, no.
I mean, compared to shows that like we watch regularly, it's definitely not. But compared to a season of television overall, it maybe is like slightly above average. Um, but I think that speaks very badly to the state that the show is in. I assume there were better episodes in season 6 that I'm just forgetting, because there's really not an episode here I would have said is like and like anything close to in the A range.
Yeah.
So just overall, I don't know. It's here's, do you want another season of Archer? That's another big question.
I'd want one because I want that resolved. Like that's gonna bug the crap out of me if that,
Yeah, I don't think we want to end with Archer dying. I think that's probably not good.
Yeah.
And I feel like as the last thing I want to talk about is I feel like another season kind of opens us up to really interesting things with like what they're going to do with Archer. It's not like another season is going to solve the problems that we're having now. We're probably just exhausted like the characters have been exhausted at this point. I think the potentially the move is to not try. Here's the problem. Do you do another one of these season long narrative tying things like the noir theme this season, which was a successful element, but at the same time, maybe that's the reason why you feel pressured to do things like the Archer Lana arc, which is potentially one of the most unsuccessful. So maybe you just want a season of 10 kind of unrelated episodes, maybe with the common theme of like however Archer's brought back into the show.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in the interest of like another season being there basically because you want to see the resolution to Archer getting shot, it would be better to do 10 not really connected episodes, kind of like how they did in the early seasons. I mean, I would prefer that no matter what, but I think in terms of like wrapping up stories, but that being said, again, like there's nothing about this season that was wrapped up, so I feel like if there is another season, it would be a continuation of this because, she uh, I forgot it, Veronica.
Yeah.
Dean, took off. Like, Shapiro's still out there, and we know now that he was trying to help her implicate Lana. Like, Archer's been shot. Like, there's all this stuff that you didn't solve from it. Like, at least with Archer Vice, like it closed off. I mean, we still had the whole like Cheryl situation, but it closed itself off, and that was that. Like, with this, it's gonna be continuing the same storylines from this past season. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I don't think I have interest in part 2 of this season.
Yeah,
that's unfortunate. I mean, I would watch it. I think I'd watch it, but I'm not really interested in that. I am interested in seeing the resolution to Archer, to this Archer plot. I don't want the show to go away. I still think it has a lot of value, and I think that there's not necessarily an obvious successor to this on TV. I think Rick and Morty is something different, but it's something better and better than
Well, this is a very specific show too, like in terms of what it is.
Like, I think I want Adam Reed continuing to make shows like this, and his other show fell through apparently. So I don't want this to just not get renewed and then Adam not have a show. Like, I'd prefer to see an exhausted 8th season of Archer than nothing from Adam Reed, I think.
Yeah.
So we'll see where that happens. One other thing I want to point out, I just saw in my notes, is we had a Mallory line, "Are you a thing from Star Wars?" this episode, which was a nice, in my mind, is a nice callback to Arrested Development when Jessica Walter's character says, "Go see a Star Wars" to one of the shows, which is the somewhat frequently gift on Tumblr, probably on May the 4th, right? Like, I don't know, but yeah, that was there's stuff like I just also with also Jessica Walter kind of, I don't know, is she in anything else now? Like, does she go away if the show gets canceled? Because the rest of development's
go away.
Because the rest of development's not season 6 isn't going anywhere yet, so, or season 5
she
maybe
goes away.
Yeah, no, I mean, is she on anything else on TV? Let's look at that.
I know of. Homosexuals are done.
I assume none of the Jennifer Falls is not a show that's still on. No. Okay, yeah, so it doesn't look like it. So yeah, well, maybe she is. It could be. No, it doesn't look like it. So just to see more from Adam Reed and Jessica Walter, I think is is the reason why we want this to continue. So anyway, I don't know.
What happens to was there a life insurance policy for the baby?
Oh, that's where's AJ? Oh, and was Archer? Yeah, was Archer insured, right?
Yeah, because wasn't it that she, in the event of Lana's death, he wouldn't get custody, but
yeah, that was the thing. Yeah, you're right. There's hopefully Archer had life insurance for her. I mean, I think Lana's got fine financially, but still, but. I mean, or is she? Or any of them? I don't know where we were with that, but
Wait, wasn't in his will or both their wills at one point, like seasons ago, they were both their main benefactors in each other's wills? It was like season 4 or something like that.
I do not remember.
They were talking about it, and they both made each. It was like before they got back together and the baby happened. They were like, for whatever reason, they were just randomly both each other's benefactors. Like, it was weird.
Yeah, it's we'll see if they did something like, you'd imagine they'd bring that back if they did something like that. Yeah. Okay, last thoughts on the season of Archer, Mel.
No.
Yeah. Let us know if you listen what you thought about this shocking twist. I'm sure we'll see some press for the finale because of this. I'm looking at the ratings. They do not look very good. But at the same time, I don't know if FX gets good ratings in general. I would imagine.
I mean, they have American Horror Story.
Does that actually air on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's on FX, so.
But they also have FXX too now, so I don't know.
They do.
And the show is on their main channel. If FXX is kind of like the Nicktoons to the FX.
Yeah.
But they have original programming a lot.
I mean, the only thing I've ever watched on FXX is like they have Avengers marathons sometimes.
I think The League at the end aired on FX. I'm not sure if it was FXX or anyway. I don't care about Fox's cable channels.
Yeah.
They do. I mean, they have some good programming though. But we'll see. Hopefully, thinking good things for Archer and related programming. And hopefully we will hear more, I guess. I don't know. This is, you expect to have heard by now, so I'm not sure on that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's June.
It is. I mean,
It's barely June, it's June.
that's not what I was contesting. But yeah, no, they could renew it and then it'd be fine production wise. I don't know. We'll see. Let us know what you thought of the season. I'm Dylan Hysen, that's Mel Moyer, overlyanimated.com. If you've been just listening to our Archer ones, check out our other coverage at overlyanimated.com. We cover, in terms of other adult programming, we've covered Rick and Morty and Moonbeam City. Rick and Morty will be back later this year. Moonbeam City has been canceled, unfortunately. But yeah, we're open to covering stuff like this. And overlyanimated.com for all of that. Patreon.com/overlyanimated for supporting us. Thank you very much to our patrons: Shayna, Mitch, Cordell, Beaches, Nate, Andy, Jamie, Rachel, John, Ryan, and Catherine, aka Hayna, Fever, Mitch, Gunner, Sleep, Beach Exchange, Nathan, Fillion, Buzz Lightyear, Mailman, Rich Rose, Johnny, Robert, Brian, and Cook Cap. That's all for our Archer coverage. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Mel, for co-piloting the Archer coverage here. And we'll be back with more animated coverage as always on overlyanimated.com. Thanks, guys, and bye.
Yay.